gotten a ton about this. This is from Melissa down in Virginia, and she says, quote, I emailed Nickelodeon as a concerned mother of 3 daughters, ages 15, 13, and 7. And as much as my girls love their programming, they need to see their mother take a stand against domestic violence. And I believe what she's referencing here is Nickelodeon's decision to let him go ahead and participate in this contest until he withdrew his name here. This a teachable moment for many parents, right? I'm assuming. What should they be saying to their kids about this?
I applaud this mother. She is doing exactly what I hope every mother, to some degree, is doing. Teaching her children this is not acceptable behavior. It's actually, unfortunately, not unusual behavior. You need to be concerned about this. We all need to be educated about this. Here are the signs to look for. Here's who you should talk to if you ever find yourself in this situation. But don't be a helpless victim, and don't condone other people being a helpless victim.
Jane, another point that was made in a lot of the emails we received is like this one from John down in Georgia, and he says, you and the rest of the media are convicting Chris Brown before you even have any facts. What happened to innocent until proven guilty?
Nonsense. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Look, the fact is he didn't issue a plea, but he has issued essentially an apology. He has said that he feels really bad about what transpired, that he's going to meet with his pastor and hope to become a better person. There were reports he's gone to anger management classes. He has not done all of that for nothing. I actually think the media has done a tremendous job in expanding this story beyond just Chris Brown to the whole issue of domestic violence. And one of the reasons I think it's happening is because so many more women are in positions of power to speak about it. There's you, there's Ellen, there's Oprah, there's the women on The View. I've been talking about it on issues. So we as women are standing up and saying, hey, we've got a voice now and enough. We're not going to put up with domestic violence as business as usual. And I think we should just take this and keep moving with it and start a movement where we stand up as women and say enough with violence against women in America.
But to the point of him being convicted by the media, is Jane right? I mean, he has essentially apologized.
You know, celebrities always say they get convicted by the media, and they often wind up getting acquitted when they actually go to trial. So I don't feel a great deal of sympathy. But just in the theme of public education, I think there's been a really interesting issue here on the legal side, because a lot of people say, well, how can they convict him if she doesn't want to testify? Well, the Los Angeles County...
And it looks like they're back together, and she may not testify.
And she may not want to testify. Right. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, like a lot of the more progressive district attorney's offices in the country, has a no-drop policy. And that means even if the woman doesn't want to testify, the victim doesn't want to testify, they will still prosecute the case. Now, it's harder to get a conviction, but what they are saying is we are not going to let perpetrators intimidate women out of testifying, and we are going to view domestic violence as not just a crime against one person, but against the whole society. And so I think that kind of policy, and broadly portrayed, tells people that, attitudes are changing on this subject.
You agree with that, Glenn?
Absolutely. I mean, look, this has unfortunately been a really hidden problem because many women are in this situation. Many girls, dating violence is really remarkably common. Like 25% of girls will report some sort of abuse in their relationship. So it's been in the closet, and this is a real opportunity, and I think the legal system justifies that it needs to come out of the closet. It needs to be talked about.
Let me ask you quickly, though, because a lot of people have also said in emails that he has many problems. He grew up in a violent home. Yes. He needs his therapy of his own. Yes. But abuse is a very vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle.
Does therapy work with someone like a Chris Brown type?
So here's the issue. Watching abuse as a child will absolutely can cause many people to go on and repeat that cycle. It's called identification with the aggressor. It's your way of feeling empowered when you feel like a small child who's weak and helpless. So you do go on to abuse. Now that explains it, but it doesn't take away the responsibility. So you're still responsible to go in and get treatment. And does it work? It absolutely can work. Does it work for everybody? No, it doesn't. You have to have someone who truly wants to do the work and has the capacity for change. And I got to be honest with you, Campbell, not everyone has the capacity for change.
All right, guys, stand by. We're going to take a quick break, but I know some of you think that race plays a part in this case. Is Chris Brown getting a raw deal because he's black? We're going to put that question to the panel when we come back. Brown and Rhianna, and the message it sends to kids, whether race is a factor in the public outcry. We've got Jane Velez Mitchell, Dr. Gail Saltz, and Jeffrey Toobin with us once again. And Jeff, you know, several people have written in and said they believe this would be a different story if Chris Brown were white. Sheila in Virginia writes, quote, "Why can't it be, quote, Chris needs education and anger management and help versus lock that black kid up and get him off the streets?" Could this potentially be like the O.J. Simpson case, where it breaks down along racial lines?
I don't see that at all. By the way, the victim here was black, too. So the idea that this is somehow everybody out to get a black kid. You know, Martin Luther King did not die so that Chris Brown could beat the hell out of his girlfriend. I just think this is a phony issue and has nothing to do with this case.
Do you, Jane, agree? Do you think race has an effect on the way we view incidents like this?
Not at all. I think it's really more about the fact that he's a celebrity. Let's face it, Oprah, who is certainly one of the most powerful African Americans in the world, issued the strongest warning to Rhianna, saying, if a man hits, he will hit again. So I really do think this breaks down much more along gender lines. And again, I feel it's a great opportunity for women to come together to fight domestic violence and violence against them in general.
By the way, I'm not so sure that the gender lines are all that simple. When I was a prosecutor, the rape prosecutors I always talked to said that women were tougher jurors to get convictions on than men.
That is true.
That women tend to blame the victim sometimes more than men. So I'm not sure the lines are all that clear.
Why?
You're going to be hearing that in emails because women often envy other women, particularly ones of certain status, and they like to see them come down. And so sometimes there are going to be women who are going to say, she must have done, I've been hearing emails, she must have done something to ask for this, to deserve this, which of course is not the case.
But again, I do see a very healthy movement here of women who are healthy, who are not being abused, standing up, women like you, and saying, hey, we're going to talk about this. We're not going to just sit around and accept this as something that just has to happen. And imagine if we turn on the TV and we saw women perpetrators every day to the extent that we see male perpetrators. How long do you think the guys would put up with that? For 5 minutes, right? We'd all be on Prozac.
So we're not saying that he should be thrown in jail. We're saying he should get treatment, that he should be helped and get treatment. But it shouldn't be like
Some of us are saying he should be thrown in jail. I'm with Jeff on that.
He should have both.
These felonies against this woman,
he has to pay the price.
You know, not for the rest of his life, but, you know, this is a crime. It's a felony.
But either way, he shouldn't be with her. That's the point. They shouldn't be together because the incidence of repeating is so high, and the incidence that it would be even worse is so high.
Doctor, you talked about a teachable moment. This is a potential turning point for America. We can say, hey, we want to move away from violence, and we can show kids that it's just not cool. And we use this as an example.
And you need more women who are actually victims being willing to come forward and talk about this as well, and not just...
And if she would do that, it would help them to do that, too.
A fair point. We got to end it there. Jeff, Gail, Jane, thank you all. Appreciate it, guys.